And it is a big welcome indeed. Welcome to Esoteric Radio, the ER room for the soul. Realistically, today we're just going to have a great time. Like I've been feeling a lot of freed up energy, especially within the last 2 weeks. The cosmos has been sending some positive, weird energy, I call it. And that's led to many different things as my mind continues to tumble the stone and continues to put together everything that's learned and put together all the people's responses and their own personal experiences just to divine completely what is happening here. And what I will say just for the record is, man, they must have us twisted, meaning that these people actually think that these Illuminati or whoever they are, that they actually think that once everyone gets the whole truth, or once certain people get the whole truth, that they're just going to sit down and not say anything about it and just feel like, oh, there's nothing else that can be done, I'm doomed. Man, they got another thing coming. They've been getting by with this matrix, as they call it. They've been getting by with this artificial programming. They've been getting by with this mind control. And just like any powerful being, the powerful being is going to realize what's happening and realize what's going on at a certain point. And that's what this whole matrix thing, I will say, has been all about. Is that every time a reality is created and people are immersed into that reality, beings are immersed into that reality, all that information is heavily being studied. It's almost the most valuable information throughout the universe is exactly what software or ME or MAY to put into a system to manage beings. So I'm going to explain it to you from multiple levels, and I'm going to let you see exactly what we're involved in as far as in this reality. But what's also most important is people understand that the line that we're using today may cut off. And so I may have to call back in. I have another recording of a great deal of what I'm going to be talking about today, and that's going to be uploaded on the site later, www.resistance2010. I wanted to also let you know that Spirit Matter, Luna, and also Luis, who's going to take a swim real quick, but he's going to also be on the line a little bit later on, and we're just going to, after this conversation, just kind of start a different way of having a show, which is where everyone begins to join the show. Everyone is actually online, so if they feel like they need to say something or they want to interject something while it's time, then they can. Like, it's not my show. I don't want to be here all day on the monologue. It makes me feel a little uncomfortable. Sometimes I like to hear and be engaged by people so that they can get their answers to their questions. So most of the time, what you see is when someone's having a big radio show, the person calls in, they're extremely nervous, and the only question they ask is something like, well, tell me about the reptilians. They don't ask the exact question that they had that morning that was really going to get clarity for them. So what we're dealing with here is that this is serious stuff. This is not for kids. That's exactly where we're at this point. Many people have this way about them. Like in this interview with Michael Jackson said, don't be childish. Be childlike. And it's very interesting, that particular statement, because that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about a finite difference that makes a world of difference for us. Just like right now, yesterday, which was this rapture thing, which was, I believe there was 117 million made on this. And they're actually giving this guy kudos for the largest marketing and saying it's going to set a level for marketing, and meaning that it's okay now to use some of the most terrifying things, if the person's taking it serious at all, and utilize that to get people to spend money or get people to react the way you want them. So you see the tandem. CDC did their marketing too, playing with everyone with the zombies, never realizing everyone's already a zombie that is not conscious and awake. And to explain that is the zombie behavior is a zombie will eat another zombie. A zombie won't eat another zombie, but it will eat the people who are actually trying to help her or its friend. And it's very deep to understand that, because what is happening here on this planet and how it's affecting people, the species that live here, they attack what is actually attempting to help them. And many of us that are in this, that are bringing knowledge, have seen this several times. But you have to understand that on a much grander scale, if you see a very large being that has a lot of power to relieve the situation, the first thing that happens when it comes into the radius of something like what we're dealing with, this type of construct, is it gets attacked. And so this has become the virus that exists on Earth, is that it's like your mom said, fight the hand that feedeth, kiss the boot that kicketh, or a person that basically they harm the one that's helping them. So since that's going on, you have to understand that when higher beings, or which is really you, if you're a higher being, puts their hands into this reality, it has to be very gently and under stealth at times so that they just don't become killed and removed. Now, to understand what's actually happening with us is, like I said, going to take us to become what we now know as adult in the state of mind. You're going to have to be able to take some information about what exactly is happening. You know what's going on. Then I'm going to give you explain to you the reason why it's happening, and then it's going to be up to you to determine if you want to believe that or not. So, for the record, once again, I owe no one anything but the truth. And that's how this whole thing began. I'm not the Illuminati because I don't have such limitations. Remember, the Illuminati are practicing with a certain group of demons, and those demons only have use with evil. That's why Gaga means hook. It's the other word of Gog. There's other places like Georgia, which means Gorgon. There's Texas, which is the Lone Star, the pentagram. There's these places, and they set up regions like cattle ranchers, etc. But they're ranching, they're mining and farming humans, and their job is to have an appeal. They have to have a certain appeal or bait. The deeper term of the word masturbate is that in that particular moment, when you're at the climax point, you're shining like a light. If someone was on DMT or they're looking right at you, you're shining so bright at that particular moment when you're going through orgasm, it attracts other beings. You become bait. This is happening on so many levels. This is exactly how the Matrix is working. Now, there's two states that you could be in as a spirit. As a spirit, you're either in this, it's called inside secular. You are actually in the pure energy void, vortex. There's no thought there. You're nothing. Thus, you're very small. You just need to be an ant or something very small. You don't need to go into the opposite realm, which is experience. So let me explain this. When a spirit is not having experience, there's nothing else going on for that spirit. It's just in pure energy. It's not. It's in all there really is. And many people are now begging to return to that. The reality of it is we were able to do both. Because people are still trying to choose one or the other, they don't realize you could choose both. The void in the area that was the cave or whatever was for you to charge up. And then when you come out of there, you were supposed to go in the experience, but you're going to need a vehicle. And so that's where the cosmos plays the cosmos plays its role with all of its lights, because those lights and those colors and the myriad of colors attract us to a way where we understand, well, there's a bunch of experiences. Look at all those lights. And so we immediately begin our descent into the experience, and you start to take on vehicles. So those that control things like matrices already know that that's going on, and what they do on the outside of the planet, for better lack of words, is they shine up advertisements. Come stay here. Come to Earth. Earth's great. Then they advertise through energy and light and essence. Hey, this is what's up. And just like an insect that you see when you turn a light on, that's why it happens. The insect flies into the light. And everyone says, then he dies. No, he doesn't die. He actually leaves the shell, which is the beetle, and he becomes the spirit again. And then, so what you're seeing is a descension down from this type of being all the way into animals, into animal nature, into nothing, into finite, into the center, into out the other side again. That's what's happening. That's what the fractal is actually showing us, is that is the experience that Earth can offer. Now, here's the interesting part. That's not all there is. That's just A to Z. Understand the language that you've been actually given still it's a program itself, so it has its limitations, but it's not the only program. The limitation of this program is called Z. So look at the word zom, because that's the root word of the word zombie. Zombies just means more than one zomb. Z-O-M-B. Now put a W on the front end of Zomb, and you get womb. So there's a few other words, they call them mother words, that you can put right in front of and it will give you a deep meaning. This is how you break apart the cipher, and the cipher lends you information about where you're at in the cycle. So what's happening in the cycle of the United States, minus by the cyclones, the cyclops, those with one eye, those who built the cyclopean structures, which are the pyramids, they are actually flashing and sending out essence of the end of the ones who only are on that program cycle. So that's why on CNN, like the Zionists, the Zionists, the CNN, they show you only doom and gloom. Now, there's not even good articles in there really anymore. You can't, it's very difficult. You just, and then you find just unended stuff like 3 legs blown off in a bomb in Kazakhstan, 5 dead in Syria. That's their thing. So when you understand that that's because they know they want to put everyone on the Z now, because they're working with a 9-digit system only. And they've created all these other systems as to be subservient to that. And that's also what happens within the body. Now, this is the deeper part. When one agrees to get into this kind of vessel, this body, there's actually you also agree to be less than certain beings that are not confined to these kind of bodies. That's the tricky part. When you came in, you said, well, we have this upgraded version of the human 2.0. He's equipped with the 7-system chakra system. Look what all he can do. And they show you the video of a person with the whole thing turned on, and then bam, you agree to it. Now, remember, this is not your construct. The reason why you know this is not your construct is because you wouldn't have wrote this in your program. You wouldn't have said, hey, I want to work all day at the McDonald's. Hey, I want to have to hustle and struggle all my life. Hey, you wouldn't have wrote that in. So all these ideas that they're trying to tell people, well, you created this and this is what you asked for, they're playing around with words. Just like with the rapture. It is true that the rapture is happening all the time. Some people wake up and the other person's gone because they got conscious enough to say, okay, I'm about to leave this individual. I'm about to leave this environment that I'm in because it's making me, it's not letting me ascend. It's not allowing me to climb the mountain. It's making me complacent. And that's what the most important part about to understand the ascension is the climbing of the mountain. The ascension is about slide down the mountain. There's a different effort. You have to train. So, but understand that it doesn't mean, just because we say, well, the ascent is tough, it doesn't mean bad luck. See, some people have confused these two things. They think that if you tell them it's going to be tough, they're like, oh, man, I'm going to be a bum. Oh, no, I'm going to lose all my money. I don't want to get involved in anything like that. That's not what we're talking about. You won't be debased to that level. No. But what will be tough is when you're around people that you do genuinely care about, but you know your influence on their environment and their influence on your environment is not allowing you to be able to do what you need to do, so you rapture. You go somewhere new and then you build for a while. Like people looking at me like I don't train. I trained for 6 months. I just spent 6 months in a small place by myself. I had to go up the street for Internet Cafe and talk, send out a couple of emails and things like that. But really, out of sight, out of mind. For most people, they stop emailing you everything. I went back, write the code of the matrix. And my rent, $250 a month. You could go live on the beach here in Costa Rica, $250 a month, and then you could eat out of the market $10 a week. So it was never that. Remember what I'm telling you about this whole construct because it's going to get really tricky. It was never that these people could not go and live a pure life. It was that they were attracted to the lights of the city. And those lights pulled them in, and then they got stuck in those systems. All of this is not happening from the outside in. It's happening from the inside out. So you can remove yourself from it at any point in time. First, making the decision. You know what? That's it. That's all I need to hear. That was the end of this. And now I'm looking at myself, and I'm thinking of myself like, yo, were you that insect that flew into that sun? and then got all stuck up in there, and then you never die, so you're just weak now as the weeks go by. So what happens here from here is that this is what amazes me. This is how I know the reality is being manipulated, is because we've been putting nonstop some of the highest knowledge available, period, cohesive, in solutions and everything, and people are still yet out there in this esoteric world they're calling all the Wilcoxes. They're yet to say anything to me. They're yet to drop me one email. So the fact of the matter is this. The only thing we have is us. That's all this really consisted of, is because we are all one. Now, this is the other little fine line things I was explaining to a good friend of mine. The reality is this. Yes, it's all connected. But in each cell, you see each cell like a sphere. And there's a tube to each sphere. And in each of those spheres or bubbles is someone in there with those, a group of people with that state of mind. And then when you get tired of that state of mind, you take a tube and go into another sphere, and then they got a certain state of mind until you eventually start gravitating towards the ones, those spheres that are of the individuals that you are of like mind with. So don't get it twisted that just because we're all connected, there's not different spheres of thought, and we're all connected means we got to get along with some of these demons. It has nothing to do with that. They're in a different sphere, and that's why it's not a problem for them to do this to us. Like some people are trying to make this problem like it's universal. The universe is having a problem. No. You are having a problem because you're on a planet inside of a sphere that's having a problem in the universe, but not all the spheres are having problems. So understand the reason why you're here, because these beings are very intrepid and they're not anything of what we would call nice, because there's really no such thing in the real cosmos. There's only intelligence, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, all of that kind of stuff. But as far as being nice, that really has no validity. It's like nice because of what? It's like there's more to it. You got to explain to me more things. You can't just con me into being nice to someone and doing everything they tell me to do, and I have no proof or no reason to keep doing that. So what we're dealing with right now is that I have no proof and I have no reason to keep being nice to the United States and to all the rest of the people that don't want to get their attitudes together and act like they know what's going on because they're zombies. So from here, the last thing that I have to do is just finish off this whole thing, because the reality is I gave everyone the cell phone. The brother Rasul called me. He said, my family's been dealing with thyroid problems, getting very overweight for a long time. We've been looking for solutions for it. It never worked. I simply looked up the cell salt for the thyroid. I ordered the cell salt, and it came, and I administered it, and the thyroid problem is gone. That's it. That's alchemy. That's black. If you can get to the point where because it's not all the other inhibitions that it doesn't work, but that comes from you. I'm not going to try that guy 35. I don't know if I'm ready for this. But you'll go and just even catch a cab. Stay home for the day. Take that money or do something. Get yourself together, or else you already know what's coming. You really do already know. But the fact is that whether you really want to accept it or not. Now, this is nature. This is where we got to get into the deeper part. Because everyone, I love Mother Nature. These people are just as crazy because I don't know how much of nature they're watching, but there's two sides to nature. There's the koala bears and there's the wolves. And the reality of nature is that nature is way too big and way too vast. It's just supporting life everywhere. Nature has no time to be dealing with whether you don't realize that there's a whole decay cycle for every being that lives on the planet that has such rules and guidelines, because that's the rules and guidelines of the big earth glowing all blue. It's like you see the blue and white, you're the spiritual being, you're like, follow the light, I'm going to go there. And then you end up in places like this that you can't say this is bad and you can't say this is good. And that's why in the end of our whole progression of our higher levels of knowledge that we're attaining right now, we'll ultimately realize that when earth swallows up the couple people around you, like, wait a minute, that was evil. Well, wait a minute, I thought earth was good. Well, wait a minute, let's blame it on heart. The fact of the matter is that why are you inside of that being the victim as an ancient being? Either you're not an ancient being and you don't have enough sense to even read or talk to or hook up with people who are ancient, or you may be suffering from a memory loss as the ancient being. So ancient being is a time lord. Ancient being has cogs and wheels of time and degrees and stars and all sorts of stuff. They understand the system, the Q. They understand the dodecahedrons. They understand, and all of this stuff people are just yet to even get the memo about. So why there's all these big ideas about the world and saving the world doesn't need to be saved. It will continue. If it continues in this cycle like this, it'll look just like the Immortal movie from Inky Bilal. They're going to eugenics and everything. The elite societies will continue to replicate because they've already discovered how to make their genes strong, and they will turn the whole world into one of those superstructure societies that are managed under a draconian system. Period. If you think that you can stop that, go try to actually push the tree down outside with your bare hands. It's not possible until you unlock something that's going to allow you to do that. This is real talk. The games have to be over with. And now I wanted to talk about a couple other things because we're going to start having a lot more fun. And the reason why is because we don't really have anything to worry about. And this we that I'm talking about is those that are in this sphere. Everyone that has not connected yet and is still deciding yet, you're more than welcome. But the fact is that inside of the sphere, the resistance has been able to stay up so long and do what it's been doing because it is protected. It is dealt with by higher beings that see that, okay, you want to do something about your situation. Man, we have no problem with helping you with your situation, but this is what you're going to need to do. And they give the instructions, and instructions come out through the resistance. They don't say, the universe never worked like it has any interest in doing any work for you. That doesn't even make sense, meaning that you're going to go and enjoy all this beauty of using two bodies and all this stuff, and you're going to gain all this, and you've done no sowing? That makes no sense. You have to plant something in order for it to grow, but everyone's planting every single day, but they're going to have to eat what they're planting. They've been eating what they're planting. And then now that more stuff is planting inside of people's mind, they're starting to eat stuff and it's killing them. But it's not killing them from the level that we think. Meaning that, they feel physically stronger. But the thing is that, why don't you ask one of these rocks how long they've been here? Because of how dense they are. Meaning that we see big rocks and big boulders and big mountains all the time. And it's very difficult for them to fly. And they have some really deep age on them and they have a lot to talk about. But the fact of the matter is that you need to determine what you're going to be. Are you a universal being that's going to eventually visit all the stars? Or are you some dog with a human body? That's it. You need to decide which one you want to be. If you let these folks con you out of all of your power and all your essence and who you really are, that's what actually enticed you to come into this construct, is because we have an ability to be able to replicate anything that we fully experience. And so when we came into Earth with the idea that we were going to be able to fully experience Earth and then replicate our own Earth and keep it for ourselves in our, like the guy said on the post, how can it just be one? When you want to create a sphere, like Earth is a sphere, when you want to create one of these, you have to go and experience one to get all the data that you need to go and make one. But the thing about this one is that they want a little too much, meaning that what they're actually charging people to get this experience and how many lifetimes it takes to get this experience is completely basically like the same thing as interest. It's the same thing as when you borrow from someone and they just don't have an intention to give it to you at a really fair price or even just allow you to have the experience. They hike the price of it all up so that you end up owing so much for it, you never get the experience anyway. Meaning that people have had so many things going on here on Earth now and in the past lives that they're very worn out right now. Talking to individuals about higher levels of knowledge and things of that nature, they act like they've already been beat because in reality they have. See, it's almost the same thing. Like I said, the danger of the TV is when you watch it and then you imagine what's going on is real for a moment and then you unplug from the TV, or they imagine everything is real that they see on the TV, then they unplug from the TV and they know, okay, now it's not real anymore. None of that was real, and they erase that. And then they go out into reality, and then they actually have another experience, and then they erase that one too, because the brain doesn't even know how to distinguish between one and the other. So, are you a butterfly, or are you a larva dreaming you're a butterfly? This becomes some of the deeper stuff that nature reveals, because nature has a big story to tell. It knows a lot more than we do. The fact is that when you're in, like we talk about breaking the matrix, when you're in a matrix, it's like an egg. So what would really happen to make you want to break out of the egg anyway? And if we notice the bird in the egg, it starts to develop and it starts to get to a certain point. And then once it gets to a certain phase, it's like, yo, why am I in that? What am I in? Because now it's turned from that plasmic fluid, and it's turned into a whole creature. And that's what's actually happening with us also. So I'm talking about several different aspects here, because there's different people that are living in different places. Some people are experiencing Baghdad right now or Afghanistan, while others are experiencing paradise. There's different levels, so I'm addressing different people on different levels in this conversation to understand if you're in that egg and you've already completely grown, and then now you're starting to be conscious that you're actually in an egg and there's a shell here. Now you have to peck out. That's what this is about. And here's another thing, to understand that whole concept anyway in the high states of consciousness, for those who've hit this A theory, those who hit the Keith, it symbolizes a bird, because in that whole genre of knowledge, the bird is being taught how to fly. So also understand that relationship between the parent birds, or the bards as they're calling them, and their children, where eventually they'll drop some food and drop some things in your mouth and drop some knowledge on you and all that. But once you get too big for the nest, baby, you're out. That's how it has to work, because there has to be something else in that nest next. And that's what we also have to realize with Earth, is that what you're looking at in history, like even when the Minotaurs are here, even when the horn gods were here and their children and all that, they basically leased Earth for that period of the zodiac. And they raised their children, everything happened to them. The same experience that comes from the cosmos, from the programming, from the constellations and the light programming, came down onto the beings, whether they were Minotaurs, whether they were seamen, whether they were just, or whatever kind of creature it was, it came down to them, and they had very similar to the exact same experience that we're having, but just on a different construct. But their thought forms lay into this. This thing is so complex and beautiful. To even sit down and start to break it apart for individuals and show them the beauty of it from any type of graphic standpoint would unlock an individual's mind, because they will understand exactly how they got here and exactly how they keep metamorphosizing through all these different beings in this one experience. But the fact of the matter is that we've gotten intelligent enough now to realize that there's other cycles and systems of time, and that there's a way for us to get into those, to join many of the individuals that have already accomplished that. There was never any limitation here besides what we were willing to take in. And that's also where the limitation comes in with when you're dealing with the chakra system, because if the chakra system one of the chakra systems are down and not repaired, then a person cannot perceive what corresponds to that chakra system. And this is really, most people are root chakra, period. And the rest of the chakras are powered down. They can't even ever see anything else at times. But then as they begin to open up these other chakra centers, they start to become more perceptive of things. But remember, the chakra system it's gradually going up. So you'll go from seeing material not to just seeing spiritual beings next. That's crown chakra action, or at least above the throat chakra. The next thing you'll go into next is you'll be able to feel certain things. That's it. I feel something around. And then the next, just so that's basically what I'm saying is that don't anticipate all your chakras turning on at one time, because a person that only has the root chakra on, turning all their chakras on at one time, are like these crazy individuals that we see still blogging on the internet at times, but are really completely crazy. We get some of them on the resistance and things at times, but you see them. It's like there's really something gone with their mind, but they seem to still be in possession of whatever happened right before that occurred. They just went from root chakra to all chakras on. And it's like that lady on the video that I posted on the post with the alien overload. So we have about 30 more minutes into the conversation. I'm not sure if there's any questions in the chat room. It looks like the communication line is coming in strong. And I would take this moment to ask Muna, is there any people that are in the chat room or that have any questions?
Wellness and Balanced Vibrations. I've been keeping my eye out. I don't see any questions. And Louise will be calling in shortly, and he'll be joining in the conversation. So did you want to continue, or do you want to just wait? Yeah, okay.
No, I mean, there's no reason to wait. I mean, so the thing is that where we're at now is that, let me just look on my, so another mother, because we did say we were going to get into the parallel Earths. Now, if you take these words and you just write them down in all capitals, another mother, that's it. If you look at those two words, something very strange will happen, because you'll notice that another is the same as mother if the A-N was changed to M. And so this thing is really strange with language, because it's really more, it's a program, so it runs. There's a certain thing that can be done with it. What I found out basically is there's one mother named Ma, and there's another mother named Na, just N-A. And these mothers are just like we were talking about, where there's Mother Africa, and then there's Mother Russia, and there's these certain continents that are actually mothers, and they're bringing forth. They're what they really are vast birthing holes, wombs, just womb, that's it. Not fractalized as womb, head, all these other different parts, just womb, and that's why the words start to get compressed. And then so this womb is responsible for when you come into the light, what you're going out into. You know, I would say that this reality is so complex with whoever developed it and whatever is still messing with it. I bet you that when a bug flies up into the light and then it actually dies, the kind of lights, like the incandescence and those different kind of lights, determine the actual energy that bug, which still has spirit force in it, goes into. It's like basically already sending it out. But man has created that light. But when we talk about the unseen hand, it may be the things like the unseen hand is responsible for, is making sure that the coating on the light and what kind of light it is governs the insect beings that fly into it and where they actually go to. Just like if something decides to fly up into the sun, then the sun is calibrated because of its essence to send the person to a certain place. That's very simple. And the reason why we understand that that's actually happening is because we can it could either be that or a more upgraded system. That's the only thing that we need to be arguing here. Is it that, or is it a more upgraded system? But still understand the wisdom, because once something is working perfectly, that they talk about, you can't reinvent the wheel. Okay, this is a very deep statement being made here. Once the cycle and the system is really going on, you can't do any better than what it's actually running to do. If you say this is what I need and this is the type of capability I need, and then they fulfill that order and give a person back that, then there's nothing to reinvent. They just have to have an endless supply of it. There just needs to be an endless supply of Earth, more so than there needs to be any problem with changing how Earth's running. Because Earth, this cycle in itself, if you took the total ME, has been running for a prolonged period of time with majority of the beings not conscious of where they are. So if someone bought that ME, a Psi Lord, for instance, bought that ME to bring beings under its possession, because you can net beings throughout the galaxy. So what's happening is that because a person's earthbound at times, that's what is taking the body, it's very difficult to understand how the space beings, for better lack of words, or ethereal beings begin to operate. But when you are an ethereal being yourself and you spend that as your primary reality, then you start to understand how things go there. And so what I wanted to explain to people here today is that basically I'm one of those beings. I've had full access at times to using my astral body for prolonged periods long enough to take notes. I saw several things on different spiritual planes, and I was even definitely conscious enough to ask the individuals there where I was and what the name of the planet was, etc. And so that's how I started to understand exactly how things were wired down. But it took me a while to even associate those worlds, even though I was in them, as being real worlds. Because I was so spiritual at that point, I would never lend any credit to that some person could construct a world beside God. Basically, that I never lend credit to that this could be the work of a more advanced human being that has now unlocked that has full access to many things, versus it's just God that does it. God only has this knowledge. I mean, yeah, probably God definitely has the knowledge. We realize God has realized how to hook all of these fishes in the sea. But that's not the highest being. And so what people still need to understand is be present. Understand exactly where you are and who you're dealing with at times. Don't take this stuff for granted with the knowledge. Wake up. Wake others up. Be forceful at times. There's not much time left. Every indicator tells us that we have to unlock this ability to be able to jump into these other worlds. And you do that with other individuals, meaning that you don't do that all on your own because you face the same thing as if you were a benevolent being going to jump into another cycle. There's something going on there that they need to be free from. See? And so, or you jump into cycles where things don't even, there's none of that really going on. But to get into those cycles, you have to prove that. Meaning that your behavior and your actions and deeds every single day are laid out on a disc. And that's what we wanted to also get into really briefly was how in Tron, the analogy of a person having a magnetic disc is just their aura. And the information and residue or residual income of everything that you've been doing is written on that disc. And what happens, all your experiences and everything are there. So when you're coming throughout the cosmos, they got to check. Like if you're going into a planetary system, it's like any type of really, really organized orgone system. You would see beings immediately run you and scan you before you even knew what was happening to determine where you need to go and what you need to do. They already know how to service. It's like an assembly line. Everyone's in service. And that's why to understand and understand and overstand, it only gets us even to a certain point. It's about your action now. What you do. The thinking part is, that's like a light scribe. That's on your, what we call short-term memory, thinking. Long-term residual is when you do something. And no matter what you do, when you have that intent, you know what you're doing, it doesn't matter what the person that you do it for does. As long as you put everything together in your mind, you knew exactly who to go to, exactly who to talk to, exactly who to give to, exactly who to help. If you knew that was in your mind, at that point, it's written down on the aura. Okay, good service. Does good service. May want to bump this one higher up into the higher levels of things because, I think we may have learned that the lower levels have some problems with them. All right, let's bump this one up. It's that kind of system you're talking about. It's not as unmanaged and organic as people think. Meaning that sometimes people think that the organic is just the love wave, and that's all it has to do. That's all it has to do with. No, the organic is fully conscious. That's why I say you would know you were on the real Earth Prime if you damaged that at any moment. It would hurt you back or damage you immediately. There would be no time delay. There would be no karma, no dharma. And people need to understand that. Okay, where am I at then? Which parallel am I on? You're on the one that basically, if you were on the real one, when you did what you did yesterday, you would have already been taken out. The thing is, when you ate one of those animals, his master archetype would have came and dealt it to you in a real way, just so that it doesn't get twisted throughout the galaxy that all the other beings can really do that. So this is to that particular species. So this is where the training cycles come in. It's like, read the story of the constellations. Let's throw all the snakes and throw all the bulls and let's just throw it all together in one huge melting pot, one crucible, and then once it's all done, it'll become 1,000 times stronger. Go ahead and pin it down. Go ahead and bring some of those dodecahedrons in. Go ahead and run Facebook 9.9 from Nebular 3. They have every single experience there. There's nothing these humans are going to be able to do that we haven't seen before. That's what your challenge is. Do something that's never been seen before. So what ends up happening from here is that it's going to save the reality. The reason why I posted why should I, what is the post called? How should I assist the resistance? And why should I do it now? Why should I now support the resistance? Is because I'm telling that to myself. I'm pushing myself more like, come on, baby, one more run. When's the last time you made a video? I'm stocking so much media up over here as far as the next video. Wow, me and Mr. Spirit Matter over here just doing our thing. And so I'm looking at now how long is it going to take me personally running at quantum speed to accomplish the little bitty 4 or 5 things that are on the bottom of that list that I know are necessary to be done for there to be any type of impact on this reality. Real quick, I opened up the wrong window here. Meaning, if you want to leave an impact on the reality, get involved in this, because out of all the thinking that I've been doing, you have to at least trust something. This is going to do something. If you get the right pamphlets together and you have the right pictures there, you just drop it. And I was even dreaming about it this morning. It just has to have the right title on it. The guy comes out of church, especially since the rapture didn't happen, that's really a letdown. But it's a continuous letdown from the Christian God, because we've already identified who he is. The fact of the matter is that let's identify really briefly who he is, because it's got to go a little bit deeper to understand the Apollonius of Tyana and the mission of Apollo and to go to the moon, because it's a moon god, and a moon god is a ghost, because the moon is yearning to be a part of the planet again, or whatever planet that it was from, but because it's not big enough to sustain itself, it's gone into a ghost phase. Now remember, nothing dies. So basically understand, so let's go with the theory that the moon came from the earth. This is a higher level of technology. When you blast off a piece of something like the moon, and it's too small, it starts to go into a decay phase because it's not with the larger part of the host anymore. But it wants to be. So if you happen to be standing in between Earth and the moon, you're getting all the rays, especially when the moon is full, of the moon's yearning to be back alive again. And if you're in a ray like that, it'll actually start to pull energy from you to at least sustain the idea of life, because it cannot have a life until it actually connects back with the planet. So this is really deep knowledge about how these individuals can take whole planets that may already be habitable and already intelligent, but not to a certain level. And this is something interesting I noticed on one of the Jedi Unleashed games, is that when they came to the planet Fallujah, what they said immediately over at Telecom, one of the bad guys, whatever they call the dark side, he said that, I'm scanning the planet, and it appears that the organic life on Fallujah is a lot more advanced than it should be for this period in time. Must be Jedi involved. Meaning that at times you have these more advanced beings, such as yourself, going into planets that are still kind of primitive on an animal phase, and all one not really having problems and things with each other, but they're in the ecosystem, etc. And you're now in the mix with it. And so, these are the real food for thought. And I did have to interrupt the conversation for a minute because I didn't even finish that idea, but it is only 13 minutes left in the conversation, I believe, and I wanted to see if my brothers and sisters were online, and if it was just time for that last 10 minutes for everyone to understand that, you come in close, you definitely are able to link up with us. I answered every single email. There's now thousands of emails in there, which maybe we will publish one day as a book with everyone's permission that's involved in that, but just a real life story of when people have questions about things. So speaking of those questions, I see the hands up, and I'm going to go ahead and open these because I am in the chat room, and we have 15 minutes remaining in the show. I'm opening up to 813, and I'm opening up to 305.
Hello?
Yo.
Hey.
Okay, so that's Luis. He's in Miami, and Tom's like in the room with me, so I think it's just easier for him to just come on closer and shut down his computer, because it will cause a problem if he opens up his microphone. And but I just wanted to just let everyone say what they need to say, or I know everyone has their own insights in the morning, so I'm just going to sit back here for a moment and just relax.
Good day, Lewis. Good day, Resistance. What's going on, fellas?
How's it going?
Good day, Pablo.
Hey, Mune. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good here. Getting live stream. Getting this reality live streamed in real time.
Awesome. Before you guys get into it, I just had something to say. Is it okay if I start first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good. What I wanted to talk about was about alchemy, how Seven earlier was talking about, using alchemy to purify the body. And I also want to talk about how, you can also use alchemy, something called emotional alchemy, where you can purify the emotional body. And that's a way where you're changing, fear, things like fear, anger, frustration, and you're transmuting that. You're going to the opposite side of it. You're making it into more of a balanced side, the love side and positivity, because that's really important. I don't think that the emotional body can really be healed. That's one thing that that was revealed to me suddenly just the last few days, is that we need to transcend it. If you just focus on healing it constantly, healing it, it's really not going to be, you're just going to be going in a loop. It's better you just transcend it and get to a higher consciousness. And I also wanted to say that negative emotions like anger and fear, it can wear down the body's immune system. And that'll happen way before it even shows on the evidence is shown on clinical level, on the physical level. So it also has something to do with our aura. And also Seven was mentioning earlier that, our aura is very important. It's sort of like currency in the astral world. So if you're constantly in an agitated state, you're always angry, and you're always in a state of fear, especially nowadays, that's all they're doing is just making us afraid. We need to get things going. You're going to lose your money, you're going to lose your job. We're always afraid right now. So you need to just, like Seven said, just be present. Just be present. Always be present. So that's all I wanted to say. Go ahead, guys.
Definitely. And that's what they were saying, that the mother breasting with the baby's milk getting angry, that milk passed to the baby can poison the baby. So definitely you need to keep the emotions in check.
Especially, I like the idea of it was like, I call it the astral wealth portfolio. It's like increasing the value of your disc. And the interesting part is that it involves so much of us working on ourselves to become better people, because you understand exactly what you need to be kind of doing. Like, you have now a purpose. It's like, you don't need to tune in to anyone else anymore and listen to what's going to happen in the world and all of that crazy stuff if you're building this astral wealth, because you're building your body, you're activating yourself. You're reading, you're gaining your consciousness, you're getting more intelligent. Then you become a citizen of a higher society. The only thing that was ever promised to us in this world was you were going to leave it. You were going to die. Everyone, your grandma, it happened to her. Granddad, it happened to them. There's a crossover point. All you have to do is invest in who you are, and then when your crossover point comes, and it will, you cross over into something that is nowhere near like this. Because you've done so much work, and that's all what the Tibetans and all these people are doing. That's all. The ones that are still on some of the Tibetans that are still on the true path, not all of them, but the people that in all religions, there are certain times people that are on the true path that branched away from, like I say, there's the Christian, and then there's the Gnostic, the real Gnostic. There's the Muslim, but then there's the real Sufi, and there's the Buddha, etc. There's these individuals that none of what a person writes and says can overwrite and say what you're feeling from the universe. You see what I mean? Like, once you tap in, like, I don't care what people tell me about what's happening in this reality and whether it's true or not. I don't have to listen to them. I can just go right to the source and ask. It's not an issue. And it doesn't have to be an issue for you either. We can get you definitely to the point where the communication is crystal clear, because that's also what we're doing now is we're working on the filters. We're not really working with the person's communication, because everyone's always been connected, but it's about the filters. And when the filters start coming through saying and telling you things at times to not do, and you feel that strength within why you should not do it, it starts to keep you on that path that you're always supposed to be on. And that's like she said, that's where the alchemy is in this. That's where you can start to recalibrate yourself.
And I had a question, Seven, and I'm going to pose it to all of you guys. For me personally, there was a point when I knew, like, this is what I have to do now. Like, I have to stop being the seeker, and I need to be an active person. And I just wanted to know from everyone's perspective, like, when was that moment for you? When you knew all the filters had been cleaned out and sort of clear, and what does internal guidance feel like for you? Because that is the problem nowadays, is that everyone is just overloaded with so much. So when do you know that you're not in the moment of seeking knowledge anymore? You're now activating.
Louis, you want to go ahead?
Can I answer that? Hello? For me, it was that I just figured out I was always active. It just happens. You just realize it. You have been active since you were a little kid. That's how it happens. But you're caught up. You're caught up in everything. In everything that's around you, you're caught up. You're caught up in your knowledge. You're caught up in your friends, family, the things you're learning. But once you realize that you've been creating all of this from the beginning, you realize you've been active. But then what's next? This is next. This is what we're building is next. If we don't do this, who will? This is the active part where you wake up and say, okay, now I'm the creator. And now we create. No more looking to hi father, hi mother. We are it. This is the highest in this dimension. And we open the portal. So collectively, we have a job. And this job is like 7, because I feel the same way. I don't like to party alone. So I dedicate all my time to use my creativity, my creative being, to bring forth the highest that I can. And every time I get higher, I realize I got more to give, more to do. And that's where I'm at. It never ends.
Thank you, Luis. Pablo, do you also have something to add to that?
Yeah, I would say when it first happened to me, it was maybe about 4 years ago, and then I went into that seeker mode. And after that, you just left with, okay, now what? What am I going to do? So that's how, then after that, the people that actually could help me do something about it started coming into my orbit. I teamed back up with my good friend Louis, who I had known my whole life. And we got separated. I teamed up with him. I had met Seven a while back, and then everybody started orbiting into my life that if there was somebody that we were going to do this with, it was going to be them. Sorry, it was going to be them. And that's where I'm at now, and that's what I'm doing here. And I'm going to continue being here and doing what I need to do to see how many more of these people I can get in my orbit, because I don't want to be alone. I don't want to party alone either. You know?
Look, one quick thing I want to add to that. So everybody knows that this is not a game. Everything that I had been following, I've been following the things that I got in my dream and my intuition, all the way up to this point. You have guys that are human, you have guys that are non-physical. So when you listen and you follow the path, it leads you to all this synchronicity. In the dream, Pablo came to me, and in the dream, he came to me with a torch, telling me he was going to take me to my people. Later on, I figured it out through a psychic, that a psychic told me that I was going to gain almost all my knowledge from a black person, somebody of the color. Later on in the past, I ended up in the resistance. That's just to let you know how the synchronicity is working. We've always been connected, but we needed to be separate for some reason, to find each other, to see how special this thing is. And it's us, nobody else. Sometimes it's hard to believe, because it was hard for me at times, but it is here. It's here now. Whoever wants to join, they're just going to bring extra to it. It's not like that nobody's going to be a master over no one. It's just that we are all doing this together. Who is willing to put their energy behind this, in front of it, sideways, on top of it, all around? The bigger we can make it, the better. And the better for your family, the better for your kids, the better for the animals, the better for this planet, the better for everything. People talk about I want to change the world, but they're still talking.
Yeah. Okay, well, there's 4 minutes remaining in the show. I wanted to take some time to at least answer some calls, because there's like one caller has their hand up. And we're just going to go ahead and take a couple questions in this last 4 minutes. So let me open the line up. Caller, while you have your indicator up, from the last 4 digits, 1369, you're actually on the air now, so that's Area code 916.
Hey, this is Kyle. Love the show.
I'm having a little trouble hearing you. Muna, can you hear a little bit better on your end, or is that mine?
I'm also having trouble hearing. Caller, if you can put the speaker down. It's kind of hard to hear you. Go ahead.
I don't have it on the speaker. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
A little better?
Yes, I can hear you. Hold this.
Oh, okay, yes. My name is Kyle. I'm calling from Sacramento, and just tuned back in, towards the end of what you're saying the last 10 minutes, everything is like sounding like we're heads alike, I've been, awakening 15 years now, and it's not that I seek others that, to surround me, and to know what I know, but it's like a magnet. It automatically attracts. So I tend to stop, going out and looking for others, and as you said, they're just attracted to me. And
sure.
I would just like to share my vision, as in, I'm not saying that this is like the progenitor of, human beings, but I had a vision where, okay, and I wasn't asleep. I was clearly up. I was driving, and I was studying at the time. This is back in 2000. I was studying at the time, and I found a few steps that that I felt that were truth, in the knowledge that I was learning. So I put it to the test, and it worked. And so actually, it like opened the portal, I should say, and I was driving at the time. I had a cloud of rain following me, which seemed like I was the only person that, the cloud was raining on the freeway.
Kyle, I don't mean to interrupt you. There's actually 90 seconds left in the show. I'm going to let you go ahead and keep going. I just wanted to let you know that, and then to let everyone know that the show will be signed off. There'll be an upload online at www.resistance2010.com. But I wanted to let you finish, Kyle, so that you can tell us about the portal.
Okay, it's just that I had the vision of the moving light. The moving light was through the tree. I was in action at the time driving, but what I saw was a flashing light moving through a tree. And once it moved through the tree, it became human. And so this would carry me to the first thought of, of man, as in this is how we were generated as into human beings, and, became one in the flesh. But our light body, that's where we are, our light body. So that's where I'm at.
You know what? That makes perfect sense. I think people could think about that really deeply. I mean, it's definitely 19 seconds in the show, but I did see an old man at the 7 down there in Atlanta, Georgia. He used to always run around saying that we all came from trees, really. But he just could never make it cohesive enough for me to believe him because it was so many years ago. But let's all think on that if we're supposed to have those roots like trees, then there is a definite connection.
That's the Kabbalah, and then that's the whole, the way of living, the past and everything. So,
at least we're running off with it. Are you still on the line there, brother?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool.
We're all
still on the line, so I'm gonna open up.
We're all on the line.
Okay, yeah, everyone's still on the line, so keep going with it. I mean,
I don't know where the gentleman is.
Actually, I think I accidentally muted the line.
Yeah, you did. Okay.
I think he is still on the line. Well, there it goes right there. Brother, are you still on the line, Kyle? Luis, are you still on the line?
Yeah, I'm here.
Louise is here. We have area code 916 still with us, and area code 813.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are at the 916, so I think Kyle. Are you still on the line?
This is another person.
Hello.
Hello. Go ahead.
This is Andy.
Oh yeah.
Can you hear me? I didn't know I was on a live conversation. I didn't know everybody was in a room together. I thought you just raise your hand and you wait to be called.
Well, we were. Like everyone's actually still, they're called in from different places but still on the switchboard. Actually, we can go ahead and open up a few lines because there's a lot of people still in the chat. So anyone who just got their line open up, you're actually on live there. If you wanted to finish hearing Kyle tell us about what he saw going through the trees, because I believe there's 100% some authenticity about what he's saying as far as seeing that. So what are you saying, Kyle? You're saying basically being slowed down so you were able to see the spirit transfer from, you know, from a tree soul or something? Okay, I don't know if you're still on the line.
7.
Sounds like you're still there.
Well, 7. I had a question for you, though. As far as immortality of consciousness, I mean, what have you gotten into as far as that? I mean, I know the Egyptians were trying to do that, and what I'm getting at is not the immortality of the soul. I know that's already there, but as far as remembering everything we are right now, maintaining everything we've accomplished on this earth in this lifetime, and then taking it beyond after one should pass, so that you could have total recollection, you know, move forward from where we're at. You understand what I'm getting at?
I understand exactly what you're getting at, and the answer to that is that it appears that basically it's like a glyph, that there's basically these master symbols that you are picking up and collecting throughout your experiences. And these symbols give you all of the data needed to like basically you have the master code to the program. It's almost like you have the cipher, for better lack of words. And that's why the Tamil experiment is still listed as one of the things that I really have to push forward and do, because those are older languages, so either way, it's just like anything. If someone tells you a story way later on, it's going to have so many new characters and different things added to it that may not be completely true. But if you go more closer to the original, you're going to get more closer to the truth. It doesn't mean with Tamil that you're at the original language. It just means you're closer to an original language so you can gather more of the glyph. Now, the main thing is also, if we understand that once you drop the Hebrew on top of the stuff, like I said, it makes a Star of David, that's a whole construct and program right there in a symbol. So when that symbol is actually embedded within the mind psionically, then no matter where the person actually has the real Merkaba, they have a vehicle that they can utilize to travel through certain dimensions where that's like a path. It's like a passport it's a passport with a certain allow of approval. So the same thing happens when you tap into, let's say, you see how Tamil is very curvy. If you finally put that all together, maybe it probably would look like the embroidery that you see the Arabs be drawing and making the Persian rugs and things like that. It would look something of that nature, but that exact pattern would be the whole construct of that world. And knowing and having that pattern, for better lack of words, burned in to the mind actually gives the spirit, or burned into the spirit for this on your disc, basically, gives you the ability to also have when you go out, you have a new program at least installed, so that you both on better to other experiences, and you're not in those experiences as the lowest being there. You see what I mean? Because remember, if we're going into another life, which we will be, how do you determine whether you're fully conscious there, or it's even a good life, or you're in a dark date cavern, or how do you determine the next experience? The value that you can put within yourself through the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. It is available here for us to gather enough here from Earth to make us powerful spiritual beings, so that we can remain frequency soul. These are universal laws that can't be broken. This is not somebody's speculation. Whatever you put out, you're going to get back. So who's going to be the master in the calculus on figuring out what exactly you should put out? That's what the real magic was supposed to be about. It was like, what exactly should I do to get this energy to the highest level it could be? And it may have more to do with burning certain herbs and things at times and meditating through those herbs, but it definitely has nothing to do with most of the stuff that they're introducing to people these days. And that's where the confusion is coming in from. The reason why, remember, Earth's more like a hotel in certain extents, is that it wants to keep a spirit here. So always going to be where there's going to be an entertaining relationship, is always going to be where it's going to be somewhat of an entertaining relationship with, actually, I think, let me that's just for someone to mute their call, but it's not a problem. It's just a little scratchy noise. But there's always basically going to be, like I was talking on this conversation last night, which I'm going to upload to the Resistance here in a moment, is you can see it as a fractal. If in the beginning you were attracted to the light and then that's not what brought you in the system, remember the attraction to the light is spectacular. So when you come into the system, the entry and everything is spectacular. Everything is amazing. Well, if it's like anyone has had a real experience, it's all amazing up into a certain point. That point, if you want to mark it, is generally when the experience is almost over. Things start to coming back to earth. It's scary. That kind of part of the particular cycle is what the earth is definitely experiencing right now. But we have to understand that actually comes into play. The idea is to not let us out of this thing. It can sustain a person inside of the cocoon, like they showed on the Matrix, where you don't need to leave the cocoon and ever become whatever is outside of the Matrix. And it has every single thing in here to keep you. And then that's why the guy, there's one video, and it's showing this, but it's showing a large hole, and it's showing it's showing man, all these different animals, but all in behind each other according to their genome, and then running and then falling into the hole, and then coming out the other side is the same thing again, and then falling into the hole, because that is the whole program.
Would you say that it would be a positive thing or a negative thing to hold on to the consciousness?
It would be. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Let me let you finish your question. I don't think you were asking whether that's a positive thing. Go ahead.
No, I mean the whole question was on immortality of consciousness, not the soul. As far as whatever personality you've developed thus far in this lifetime, and taking that with you. And continuing from wherever you're reincarnated or wherever you go, wherever the next step is, be it higher, lower, whatever, but maintaining that consciousness. Do you think that would be a positive thing to do? Are you saying that would be more harm than good? Because you're saying, you should be open to the experience. The reason why you're losing all your consciousness, all your memory.
I'm not saying that at all. In fact, I'm actually on the opposite end. I believe that I want to retain everything, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Okay, that's where I'm with you. That's what I was trying to ask. Have you stumbled up to steps?
Let me just explain that, because I know exactly what you're saying now. This is the thing. Now, when you start talking about leaving the going out into the universe, and you're now this powerful universal being, you got a catalog of all your experiences, etc. If you are to achieve that level, what accompanies that level is you have to know every single thing in regards to the personalities and different things that you could have obtained from the dimension. So thus, you don't just have your experience. You have everyone's experience. That's the level that you've now entered. You see what I mean? Because the standard procedure for a person that doesn't understand this, they're just going to die, and then they're going to come back out into another system, possibly this one, possibly as another being, etc. But how much they're going to retain of this experience is going to be very little beside what we see everyone retaining now.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. They'll feel it more as an intuition more than an absolute memory of, A, this happened to me, B,
Exactly, because this system is already capable of doing that. It's already working. It's been working for a long time. So the only thing they have to do is run a person through the exact same system again. You see what I mean? They'll be a little bit more conscious. They'll gravitate towards certain things, but they'll feel like it has a connection to them, but they won't never know how it was really connected directly to understand whether they need to get rich or not, etc.
That's really...
So the basic thing is that still, remember, when you're talking about now you're this universal man or universal being, and you're out in the galaxy, you have this kind of right to do this kind of thing. To jump to that level, you would need your glyph. You would need to have master knowledge, for better lack of words. You would need to have the language embedded that completely gives you the whole construct. Remember, every single word, like if I wanted to explain to you every single thing that's going on here in the galaxy, I could explain to you if you had enough time in English language. I could explain to you because this language does have the capability to be able to transmit the information to you. So this already means that you actually have the whole story in your mind. It's just in the wrong order. Like everything that's actually happening to you it can be explained to you within the language. You have the language in your mind.
So it's a matter of reorganizing the information to be able to digest it.
It's a matter of understanding the master glyph. Like I was saying, if you probably drop English all the way down on itself, it probably equals a pentagram. If you jumped into the world of the pentagram, you would see every single thing, which we're in one. We're in the world of the pentagram. Every single thing that the pentagram can unfold into being. So it doesn't just give you your experience, because your experience is actually there, because your experience is still a very small part of what this whole thing can do. But if you're ever thinking about going into the universe and you're on that level, remember, it's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? If you got to that level anyway, you would be a bad joker, for better lack of words. You would have this knowledge in your mind that will make you, you had real power to get into a universal being level. That is attainable. But what I'm saying is it ain't going to be attainable with the ideas of I just want to keep my memory. It's going to be attainable.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So you're saying it's not a singularity as far as just maintaining my experience. I would have to, or the individual doing this would have to amass the whole of all experience.
You would have to have the whole indeed, because that would be what allowed you to become a universal person. You see what I mean? Because other than that, you would just be looped right back to a system. You can imagine you're all you want to imagine you are, but if you haven't done the work necessary to make you that, then you cannot enjoy what is the rewards of that. So a universal man knows all glyphs and knows numbers about certain time systems and structures and can tesseract his body. So that can actually happen for you, but it can never happen if no one ever explains that that's even the goal, or you don't even epiphany at one point that that's even the goal. And that's what this whole thing about the resistance is at least getting people to the jump point where they can know, okay, wait a minute, this is what I guess one thing that this does make sense to do it that way. I can't go take the car and wash it and make it clean and then drive it down a dirt road. I should drive it down a dirt road first and then get it clean. I can't be the universal man and then only want to keep my experience. To be universal, I would have to actually keep the whole experience of the reality. Now, that's not so complicated if you understand that everyone's personality is still in the Enneagram and written within the constellation, because all you got to do is study that. And then
it's like the hologram thing, where every bit of one piece of a hologram and fractal. I mean, it's all the universe is all in us, and we're all in the universe, right?
It does contain the whole, but you have to be able to scale down and zoom in properly to be able to see that. Because most people, they still cannot see in nature how we're all connected and what's really going on and all of that within that molecule, because they cannot see the molecule. They need the proper equipment to do that. And that's the same thing. You understand that we've got this knowledge and intelligence that's already throughout the galaxy. The only thing that we've been doing is sitting there acting like they can't have that. It's like someone that's very jealous of another individual because they've already achieved something, and that of what they've achieved and what they're in possession of is allowing them to reign supreme. And because they're reigning supreme over maybe you, maybe me, the first emotion that comes next is, man, he can't do that. Why are they not even using it right? That's not what it's for. That's not even it. So there's all of these reactions that still have nothing to do with whether you're going to get out or not.
Okay, so I know it sounds like complex, but if you had to break this down like really quickly and in layman's terms, what would be the basic summary to achieve immortality of consciousness? How would you
learn all?
I know that it's very hard to do that.
Learn all the master languages here available on the planet. Learn those languages from their symbolic meaning, which is still yet to happen in this planet. Meaning that you're yet to still see someone telling you that when you drop Hebrew on top of itself, it makes a Star of David. If you know anything about, there's nothing simple and layman about getting into the universe. So I can't breach a certain point with trying to explain in a simple way something that is going to be complex. Nobody ever said that.
That's fair enough. I've just,
I'm just breaking it down and then breaking it back up, just so we understand, because it's still a climb up the mountain, so it's a challenge. But this is not your problem. Meaning that you didn't create this reality. This is not something that is your responsibility, and that's what I was conveying on the show. Meaning that if you had wrote this thing, it wouldn't have been like this. The fact of the matter is that you're inside of one of these, and it appears that they bait and hook beings into this. So what I'm saying is that that's why I was saying in the recording that there's two sides to this coin. It's about understanding that you're still dealing with a very aggressive force, even when you're dealing with nature. It's aggressive. And so there's a certain part of an aggressive force that you got to be like, yo, man, let me go, man. I'm not going for that no more.
Yeah, it's a question of freedom, of breaking free.
Something kind of simple to kind of ease. It's almost like, I'm telling you, this is the easiest way to understand it. Now we get to something easy. When I'm in the gym, sometimes you be looking for the weight that's easy to lift or the machine that's easy to push. What kind of sense does that make? But it's like, yo, I like this row machine because it's like easy. But there's no, you know what I mean? The two of what you're trying to do, it's canceling itself out. And so that's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about when we're looking for a very complex state, but we want an easy way to get to it. It just doesn't match up that way. But because even when you understand now that you got to master the languages and you got to master them for their symbols, the only symbol that we have right now is the Hebrew. We're working on the other languages now, but it takes to put them in a 3D program. Now, is there anything simple about making languages, making letters 3D and then putting them in before your mind? No? So then what most people do is say, well, he doesn't have the answer. It's got to be more simple than that. But man,
but what you're saying is it's a matter of language, and it's a matter of full comprehension of the roots of the language, not what you've been taught, you know, but the esoteric meaning, the true meaning behind symbols and what the language truly is.
Well, yeah,
it is. Can I say something real quick? It's the beginning of freedom.
Because once you start adding any of this data, for better lack of words, it starts to change your dreams. It starts to change your whole experience. It's not like a one-ended, like I need to go learn Spanish when you're learning an ancient language. Once you start to learn it, stuff starts to change because it's a real program, for better lack of words. It starts to bleed into the other one and say, oh, that's not real. That's a square when it should be a curve there. And it starts to change things on just a different level that really can't be explained. But
that's a good point. You're saying that every language is a different program, a slightly variation of a program. Every language is what you're saying.
Yeah. What it is is that like there's only a few languages that man created. All the other ones have extraterrestrial origin. We created the languages that program computers, which are still a derivative of the language that was given by extraterrestrial beings. The reason why we know the language came from extraterrestrial beings is when it was unlocked that the Hebrew language actually lays out how to make a computer. It basically explains how to make a computer within the language. So the only thing that the being has to do is give a group of people the language, maybe even just a symbol, and it starts to unravel. And then as they continue to go throughout their experience, they get to eventually to a point where they discover the computer. But the computer was already written into the language. So instead of thinking that the common concept is that language came from us making grunts and sounds and then it evolved from there. No, the language was slave markings from extraterrestrial beings that once we understood the vibration of what they were saying, and we started to play out history by bringing in the energies every time we say those words.
So Hebrew is close to that extraterrestrial language, you're saying, or is in fact an extraterrestrial language or part of an extraterrestrial language, as far as Hebrew is concerned.
What language are we talking about?
The Hebrew.
Yeah, the Hebrew is definitely an extraterrestrial language, probably more or less from the beings of Saturn. Like it's their star code, basically.
Hello, this is 916.
916, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, 916. Okay, good. I just wanted to interject on about what he was saying, add on like the resistance part, okay, and break it down to the Hebrew alphabet. Basically, that's the Dalet, and the Dalet is the door, and the door is basically what he's talking about. In order to be universal, universal is the universe. It's like some of my clients ask me how the world treats me, and I always let them know, I'm not of this world. They say, when I say that, but it's true because the universe is the water portal, and the water is the in the language of the Hebrew alphabet. So when you start to understand that, and when you start hearing what people are saying, even if it's in different languages, you can break it down with your intuition and know what letter in the Hebrew alphabet is applying to.
Exactly. And the other thing is that you get more information about what is actually taking place in the galaxy. Like, for instance, in the Sudanese language, you clearly see, because it becomes the root to a lot of the Arabic languages in Aramaic, that they knew a long time ago that the reptilians had some big-time involvement with Earth, because how they explain things and what those words mean have everything to do with reptilians and snakes. So basically, there was never, it's almost like being born in a Western culture, there has been no information about what a lot of individuals already know about. But what they know about it, they're subservient to it, which is still the advantage. Like some people think, well, that's the extreme advantage to Western culture. No, it's not. It's that it's the other way around.
Right.
Exactly your benefit, because you actually get to examine it from the outside in instead of the inside out. Like imagine you're trying to figure out why you guys are worshiping this, but everyone in the house is worshiping it, and everyone in the family, you don't have to, you see what I mean? It's a different way of actually viewing the whole thing. So that's the same thing when you're utilizing how to look at their language. When these ancient languages, you're from the outside looking in. They can't see all of what their language entails because they're actually inside of their language. That's why this is also, again, the power of the glyph, is because the power of the glyph places you outside of the language rather than the language being in your mind and it's just inside of you and you're trying to figure it out. So you can't even put hate and heat together. Like I said, even the 4-letter words become so difficult to even think. They should think automatically. They're only 4-letter words. But these words mean something. This is exactly how it's put together. The letters of the language is the program. Hey, Kyle, your line is still breaking up a little bit. You may have to go a little bit closer to the microphone. Or wherever that may be. I think there's like a car window down or something like that. But
no, I'm just outside. Is this better right here?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, well, I was going to say.
Well, that was better.
Picking up, yeah. Can you hear me now? Is it better? I don't mean to be messing up your flows like this, but I just wanted to add on to about the relativity of it all and stuff. Is as in this is how how can you know the consciousness, and be full with it? It's like Einstein, how he broke down and this is just my perspective of it, how he broke down the relativity. He sat out and he observed people, okay? And so, it's a thing that understanding where you get to is, dealing with the light is that you're in everyone, okay? Now, when you can pick yourself out of a person, when you're out and about and you're observing, if you can pick like a personality out of that person that they're portraying that's in you, that's you acting out of place right there in front of you, so you can know what's going on around you. So as in, being in a place, in a foreign place, you're not knowing that language, you can watch people's activity and the way they move and still understand it without knowing that language. You see what I'm saying? It's just a great, it's a relativity. It's just
right. And that's a good point to bring up, because that's also how you learn a language. Just to finish off the instruction is you don't go to anyone and say, hey, teach me this language. Go to that language and say, hey, teach me what you have to say. Because remember, the language is alive. And that's why we want to put it in 3D. That's what this whole project is really about, is because I believe personally that if you sit down in front of a screen that is showing you a 3D of an image and you see it and it flashes to you, eventually you will learn, that language will show you what it means, the way you're supposed to learn things, which is by having them explain themselves to you rather than trusting someone else to give you their perspective of what they think it means. Because they sent it already through their filter. And so this is, it's a different way of doing things, but it's definitely a lot more effective and a lot more, and even one doesn't probably have to do it in 3D. Like if you take the language, you cut each symbol up into a larger, blow it up into a large picture of each symbol, and you just click through those and you look through those symbols before you go to bed. I can guarantee you that the language is going to start responding because it has that level of power with it. The ultimate goal, again, is to be able to put it and plot it out into a computer program and then start to be able to put it together like a puzzle and then see what symbol it creates. Now we understand who's doing what because the controllers they're in play and they're putting the system together by these symbols. Now, to conclude the question, because I do have to get off the line, how does one retain the reality, the memory and everything of the reality when they're in the universal stance and they become a being of the galaxy? They will have already obtained all of the rings. As we talked about, the languages are rings. The first language is the first letter of language connects to the last letter of language, and that's called a cable or cabal. Once that connects to itself, it's the symbol of the perfect union itself, meaning that you are perpetual. Once you can understand completely what a language means, which, again, most people don't. They don't even have a clue what language means.
Please enter your password, then press pound.
Okay, so once the ring connects, then you gain one system of knowledge.
Please enter your password.
That's what we're talking about. And it's definitely to a level, and I guess we have some situations going on online, but it's definitely to a level that when you get a certain amount of those, or maybe even one, like learning a lot about English really got me to a level where I was seeing it in all languages. So getting into the mastery of at least one of these languages is going to turn you on to something else that gives you way more of a clue about how to be a universal being. And you can start with this English. Like, it's here, it's available, you know it. You know the different variations. It has a story to tell, and it's quite amazing. And then it gives you and another thing is it gives you a format to how to look at another language. It gives you like a reference point of what you should be looking for. And that's all I really have to say. And so I wanted to send wholesome balance out to everyone. It's been just phenomenal. I wish we could have continued this more, not next week, but the week after. We may have a whole panel of a lot of people on just discussing what's happening, asking questions, or put a post together and invite individuals to do that, but they definitely have to have their questions or their conversation or whatever they want to share ready. But I think that's what this is about today, is opening up a new way of doing the show and connecting with individuals. So once again, I want to send wholesome balance. I know, again, this line should be terminated for a moment, so I'm going to allow Muna to handle the line from here. Okay. And I do also want to thank you, brother, for calling in and telling us about the situation with the trees. I'm going to definitely think about that a little bit deeper because I've been coming to some of the same conclusions. I also want to thank you for calling in and asking the question about the immortal conscious body and the data and how to retain that data, because that always brings me more aware of how deep I need to get ready to travel into the language and how I need to stay on that. And so, again, almost everyone. And Mr. Spearman is also going to say goodbye. I don't want to hang up without him.
Yeah, I just wanted to say wholeness and balance to everybody, and thank you all for being present. And that's it.
Hello. Wholeness.
Okay, wholeness, balance, vibrations, Luis and Pablo, thank you so much. And I'm just going to take off, and I just want to say, everyone, stay present and always live in the now. Thank you so much.
Indeed.